Welcome to Did You Know? The channel where facts meet wonder and science meets everyday life. Climate change is not a distant threat or a challenge reserved for future generations. It is unfolding before our eyes, reshaping the world we know and the lives we live. Every year, the signs become more unmistakable. Rising seas encroaching on coastlines, heat waves shattering records, wildfires raging across continents, and storms growing in both strength and frequency. The planet is sending clear signals, and the consequences are not abstract. They are tangible, immediate, and for many, devastating. The science is unequivocal. Since the dawn of the industrial era, human activities, most notably the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas, have pumped billions of tons of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. These emissions trap heat, creating a blanket around the planet and steadily raising global temperatures. The numbers tell a stark story. The past decade has been the hottest ever recorded, with each successive year pushing the boundaries of what was once considered extreme. But these changes are more than statistics. They are altering the very fabric of ecosystems, economies, and societies. Glaciers and polar ice sheets, which once seemed eternal, are melting at unprecedented rates. The Arctic is warming nearly 4 times faster than the global average, transforming landscapes and threatening the species that depend on ice for their survival. As the ice retreats, sea levels rise, swallowing low-lying islands and endangering millions of people living in coastal cities. Heat waves, once rare, now arrive with alarming regularity and intensity. In cities across the globe, asphalt and concrete trap heat, turning urban areas into ovens. Vulnerable populations, the elderly, children, and those without access to air conditioning, are most at risk. In recent years, heat waves have claimed thousands of lives, from Europe to North America, and have sparked wildfires that destroy homes, livelihoods, and habitats. The impact of climate change extends far beyond temperature. Weather patterns are becoming increasingly erratic. Droughts parch once fertile fields, leading to food shortages and water scarcity. At the same time, heavy rains and floods wash away crops, infrastructure, and entire communities. Farmers struggle to predict when to plant and harvest as the seasons become less reliable. In some regions, the combination of drought and heat is rendering land uninhabitable, forcing families to migrate in search of better conditions. Wildlife, too, is under siege. Species that have evolved over millennia to thrive in specific environments now face rapidly changing conditions. Coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea, are bleaching and dying as ocean temperatures rise and acidity increases. These reefs support a quarter of all marine life and provide food and income for millions of people. Their decline signals a broader unraveling of ocean ecosystems, threatening fisheries and the communities that depend on them. Forests, the lungs of our planet, are being lost at a staggering rate. In the Amazon, the combination of deforestation and climate change is pushing this vital ecosystem toward a tipping point. Once a carbon sink, the Amazon is now at risk of becoming a net carbon emitter, accelerating global warming even further. Forests across the globe face similar threats, from fires in Australia and California to pest outbreaks fueled by warmer temperatures. The consequences of climate change are not distributed equally. Those who have contributed least to the problem, the world's poorest and most marginalized communities, are often the first and hardest hit. Small island nations face existential threats as rising seas swallow their land. In sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, millions are already experiencing the impacts of drought, food insecurity, and displacement. Climate change is a multiplier of injustice, deepening inequalities and fueling conflict over dwindling resources. Yet, despite the dire outlook, the story of climate change is not solely one of doom. Around the world, people are rising to the challenge, driven by urgency and hope. Scientists, activists, businesses, and governments are working to cut emissions, adapt to changes, and build a sustainable future. Renewable energy is expanding at an unprecedented pace, bringing clean power to millions and creating new jobs. Cities are investing in green infrastructure, from parks that absorb floodwaters to buildings that generate their own electricity. Innovations in agriculture promise to help farmers adapt to changing conditions, while restoring soil health and capturing carbon. Reforestation efforts are underway in countries from China to Kenya, aiming to bring back lost forests and restore biodiversity. Individuals are making choices, big and small, to reduce their own footprints, from eating less meat to choosing sustainable products. International agreements, such as the Paris Agreement, set ambitious targets for reducing emissions and limiting global warming. While progress is uneven and the commitment so far falls short of what is needed, these agreements represent a recognition that the climate crisis is a global problem requiring collective action. The path ahead is challenging, and the window for meaningful action is closing. Scientists warn that we must halve global emissions by 2030 to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. That means transforming the way we produce and use energy, how we grow our food, how we build our cities, and how we move from place to place. It means rethinking our economies and our values, moving from a system that rewards short-term gain at the expense of the planet to one that prioritizes sustainability, resilience, and justice. The choices we make today will shape the world for generations to come. Will we continue on a path that leads to ever greater destruction, or will we seize the opportunity to build a cleaner, fairer, and more resilient future? The evidence is clear. The cost of inaction far outweighs the investment needed to transition to a low-carbon world. Every dollar spent on clean energy, climate adaptation, and ecosystem restoration pays dividends in health, security, and prosperity. For many, the effects of climate change are already a daily reality. Fishermen in the Pacific watch as their traditional fishing grounds disappear. Farmers in Central America face crop failures year after year. Families in South Asia flee floods that come with greater frequency and intensity. The struggle to survive in a changing climate is driving migration, straining social safety nets, and testing the resilience of communities around the globe. But there is power in collective action. Young people are leading a global movement, demanding that their leaders treat climate change as the emergency it is. Indigenous communities are fighting to protect forests and waterways, drawing on generations of traditional knowledge. Scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs are developing solutions, from carbon capture technologies to plant-based alternatives for everything from meat to plastic. Governments have the tools to accelerate change, from setting ambitious targets and investing in clean technologies to supporting communities most affected by climate impacts. Businesses, too, can be part of the solution by committing to zero-emission supply chains, investing in renewable energy, and designing products with the planet in mind. The climate crisis is daunting, but it is not insurmountable. Humanity has faced great challenges before, and time and again, we have risen to meet them with creativity, determination, and solidarity. The same spirit is needed now as we confront perhaps the greatest challenge of our time. Every action counts. Whether it's voting for leaders who prioritize climate, supporting organizations that protect the environment, or making changes in our own lives, we all have a role to play. The stakes could not be higher. The choices we make today will determine the health of the planet, the stability of our societies, and the well-being of future generations. Climate change is not waiting for us to act. It is happening now, reshaping our world in ways both visible and invisible. The science is clear, the impacts are real, and the time for action is now. By coming together, embracing innovation, and putting the planet at the center of our decisions, we can change the course of history. The story of climate change is still being written. Let it be one of courage, transformation, and hope. Let it be the story of how, faced with an existential threat, humanity came together, not just to survive, but to thrive, building a world that is cleaner, greener, and more just for all. If knowledge matters to you, subscribe now. We bring science, nature, and truth to light, one video at a time.